Footscray zoning up.
Alright. 24 minutes gone now in the third.
Runner into space, there's nothing wrong with that.
Shut him up. Shut up in front.
Yeah.
24 minutes gone now in the third quarter, and it is right on now. Geelong have starting to get on top. What would you do, Barry, if you were Terry Wheeler at the moment to try and close this game up?
He's certainly got to do something about Stoneham. Stoneham's played particularly well in the ruck. I'd like to take him out of the play. If I was Charles, I'd go and stand on the goal line here. He's just leaving him in the play. He's reading the play so beautifully. He's gone for the marks that he's had to go for. He's knocked those that he hasn't. He's actually knocked it to the ground, then picked it up and hand passed it. So he's been a very marked influence on the game. I think he's turned the game around as far as I'm concerned. And I think you'd like to take him right out of the game. They've certainly got to tighten up right across their back line. They've got to be playing man for man for the time being. Probably take a couple of their half forwards up, play them on the half back line. That wouldn't be too bad, and move the wingers back. Run them off half back so that they're looking at their goal. They seem to, once they've got the ball at this stage of the game, too many of them are looking to have to turn, looking for the running players going past, and there are just not enough players running. So what do you do? You face them towards their own goal. So you take some of these half forwards with their backs to the goal and make them face their goal.
All right. Well, John, we've just seen Geelong kick another goal there. Do you think now that the floodgates are about to burst?
It looks pretty ominous. Certainly, Footscray need players like Chris Grant to come into it more. Coleman is obviously looking tired with his hands on hips, and this is the tough part of the grand of all finals. Certainly, the third quarter and the last quarter really sorts them out. Who's got the most courage and the fitness? But Footscray starting to have their doubts now because Geelong are looking good. They've got the running and things have gone their way. So if Footscray at all show any sign of mental weakness, certainly the floodgates will open. They'll get beaten by 10 goals.
Well, at the moment, Geelong's starting to just break away. Their running players, Scott, we've just seen Riccardi come into the play there. These type of players are a little bit quiet and were held and put under a lot of pressure in that first half and now starting to break away. Do you think that that's indicative of what's happening?
Well, yes, that's right, but certainly Footscray were running the ball a lot quicker into the forward line, and now it's rebounding, and when it's going forward now, the Charles, they've got no pace in the forward line. Hawkins is slow, Charles is slow, Grant isn't all that slow, but he's playing on a flank and he's sort of out of the game. Coleman's slow. Colnook showed his lack of confidence, by breaking clear as a rover, 2 or 3 yards clear, 30 yards out, instead of running 10 yards, having a bounce, he had a snap and did it very badly. Do you feel that they're maybe starting to panic a little bit? Well, I think they've started to lose. Their lack of confidence now is their doubts starting to show, and they're getting very. You said it's call it what you like, but it's doubt, lack of confidence. It is showing through.
This Couch, who probably has one right foot kick in the year, has just slotted a right foot kick into a player sitting on the boundary line. There's confidence for you. Now, so he's picked up his game.
Gary Ablett, the star of the Geelong side, means so much to him. If he kicks this from the boundary line, do you think that this will just be enough to give them the impetus to go on and really clean Footscray up?
Yes, I think it'll be a difficult shot for him. He's kicking from the wrong side. He's kicking with right foot onto the boundary line.
Which is the way he likes it, the impossible goal.
Yes, he probably does. He'll probably kick it over his head if he prefer that. I'd say it'd be a difficult shot. He looks like he's got it. It's amazing, isn't it? Yes, there you go. You can never be right in this game.
But it was always going to be one of those ones where he'd kick it. I mean, you have that feeling with some guys like Gary Ablett, Peter Dacos, these guys, a goal that really can set a team alight. And do you think that could be the one?
Well, it looks to me as though Geelong are well on top, and when you find that the players that have been down, like Scott, who hasn't played well, Couch, who hadn't played well the first half, Ablett had done a couple of really good things but hadn't had a lot of the play. Hawkins had been particularly good. These are the players that they needed to make a lift, and they have, and I think the signs don't look too good for Footscray at this stage. There's another ruck tap out to Stoneham again. He's done so well in that ruck situation.
Okay. For the presentation tape. Okay. I'm sorry, get a score. Can we get a score?
No, it's 20 points.
Well, they call the third quarter the Premiership quarter in finals football, and on that occasion Geelong have been able to kick 7 goals to Footscray's 1. Barry, do you think that just about sums it up?
It certainly does. Geelong had the better of the play. They had all of their runners working well off the ball. They hunted in 2s and 3s that they hadn't done in the first half at all, and this made the difference. They actually had the freedom of movement on the forward line too. I think they had lots of space to work in. And as we talked through the game, we thought that perhaps Footscray could have dropped a few more players back into those spaces to make Geelong a little uncertain as to where they needed to be running. They had too many kicks uncontested in that latter end of the third quarter, and it seems to me they're well on top at this stage.
Well, John, Footscray, what can they do now? They played so well in that first half and only led by 10 points at half-time. Now they're starting to get run over the top of. Their captain has been put into Disneyland by Spiro Malachellis.
It's going to be a test of their courage and their character, and if they've got that character that's got them to second spot on the ladder, they'll regroup and they'll throw throw everything they've got at Geelong in the first 5 or 10 minutes. And if they've got that character there and some fitness, some of their older players and Coleman and Hawkins and those aren't going to be giving much this last quarter, I wouldn't think. They just need someone to give them a spark, and I don't really think they've got that spark there. But certainly they've shown a lot of character in a lot of games this year. If they can produce it, they may narrow the gap. If they don't, they'll get beaten by 10 goals.
Our unique service here from the Super Boxes. We're taking your questions. Our first one from the Crongold group, and it's one that's been a bit of a question mark during the final series. It happened a fair bit yesterday, Barry Davis. The kicking in danger rule. Does it still exist?
You'd have said that it doesn't, but it certainly does. I think there's been one decision today where a player swung his leg at the ball and missed and seemed to make contact with another player, and the free kick went to that player who was actually made contact with. So yes, it does.
But they just don't pay it.
They don't pay it very often, no.
All right. Another question coming in from the Dairies box again, and it's for John Nicholls. John, the people down there say that in your comments just before we went to the break, that you said the Footscray can't win, but if you had the magic wand and you could change these players around, what would need to be done to get them to fire up here?
I didn't say they couldn't win. I just said the way they're looking, they're looking a bit slow and feeling aren't chasing as much. They're looking a bit tired. And this last, as I said, it's grand final. The last quarter, the third and fourth quarters gets harder, and as you get tired, and as mental fatigue sets in, and this is the thing that most people don't realise. That it doesn't matter how fit they are. They've probably played 30 or 40 games for the year. Mental tiredness and mental fatigue, it's probably the worst after a quarter time. It gets half time, third in the last quarter. If you've had a lot of fatiguing thoughts and mental looseness during the week, you get very tired. You don't see players get cramps during the home and home games, but you see them get cramps during finals. It's because they can't carry it. And if Footscray, which the signs are there that they're going to struggle to get over that barrier. If they can in this first 5 minutes, they've got a chance, but I just don't think they can.
All right, John, and our final question before we go into the last quarter comes from the BMW box. A special hello to Ron Meacham there, of course a great Carlton supporter, and he asked Barry Davis, do you believe that Gary Ablett is God?
If you can kick a goal from the boundary line 45 metres out on the wrong kicking side, you must be. That's all I can say.
Fair enough. Well, we'll see how God goes in this final quarter of football. A qualifying final of 1992. Just 30 minutes of football to go. The score's 18-9, 117. Geelong lead Footscray by 20 points, 15-7, 97. And this is the big game to decide who goes into the second semi-final for this season.
Cool.
Barry, looking at the match today, when there's the opportunity for the team that's been beaten, is possibly the lesser team for the season, in this situation Footscray, try to overcome the experience and the goal power that Geelong have. How do you improve that performance?
Well, really, when you look at the game, you have to say that by half-time they could well have been a lot further ahead at half-time, and I think you've got to say that there are a lot of positives that would have come out of that. A lot of their players would have benefited a lot by having played in a final series, and I think in some ways it'd act as a bit of a spur to them to come out and play the next game. And I think they'll play a lot better actually the next game round.
All right, John Nicholls, you predicted at half-time or three-quarter time that Geelong could run away and win this game by 10 goals. Footscray, you could see it in them that they were starting to fall away. Is that something that's going to really take the stuffing out of them for next week's game against St Kilda?
No, I don't think so. I think they've shown, as I said, a lot of character through the year. I think that even though if they get beaten by 5 goals or 10 goals, the last 5 or 6 goals doesn't matter. They'll regroup, and sometimes the bigger the defeat, the more incentive you've got to bounce back. There's two ways of thinking. If they had have battled hard and got beaten by 6 points or 7 points, they may have thought they were unlucky, then they started looking for excuses. But now they know that by playing their next opponents in Kilda, they've really got to give it, 4 full-bore quarters, whereas this time they've probably played 1.5 good quarters, and the third quarter was poor. The last quarter they've only had glimpses. All of a sudden they know what it's all about. It's so much pressure.
All right.